From Rule 62 Studios in Bossier City, Louisiana, this is The Grouch and the Brainstorm. Welcome back. July 4th edition.
Is it? The temperature is definitely July 4th.
It is, yeah. It's
For
pretty
y'all
hot.
that don't know how much we care about this, we have no air conditioning in this room right now. So it's hot.
And we're upstairs.
So, yes,
Hot air
and it's
rises.
upstairs.
We're closer to the sun.
We can't turn on the air with the mics on. So we're all pouring sweat.
Yep.
So
this will be a good episode. We're just going to try to live through it, right?
that's right.
All right.
That's right.
I'm Mike, and with me today is Jill
Hey, guys.
and Matt.
What's up?
And we have a guest.
Hello.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Damian. I'm an addict. I've been clean for a month and 3 days.
Month and
Yes.
3 days.
3
big dog.
days.
That's
So-
awesome.
We had a listener who requested that we do an episode about what we do right out of rehab or treatment or whatever. And so we found someone that's been out for a little while, and they're going to be our guest today. So
Yeah, they just picked me up walking down the road, man, and said, "Hey, are you out of treatment?" And I said, "Yeah."
Yeah, right.
It's crazy how it works out like that.
And so, I'll be anything you want me to be for $2. Hell yeah, man. Before we go any further, real quick announcement. Website's rolling, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
The website is 100% active. Grouchandbrainstorm.com. You can access it like that. There is, we're going to put some news on there when we have birthdays and stuff. And as people trickle stuff in, I'll add it to the page. Links to every one of our podcasts, so we no longer have to do the count. We will still do the count on Spotify, but that's something totally different. More to come. As I see the need, we'll grow some stuff and we'll do it. We'll add to it. But, today, actually, I added a picture of Chunk and Bud, and I added a picture of the snake that Matt killed. I felt like our viewers would want to see that. It's still live in the picture.
You had it. Oh,
you'll see. I tell you this.
that's a before picture.
It's
then.
a before picture. I'm not gonna be gruesome in case children are looking at the website. We don't want them to see stuff they're not supposed to see. So, we got Intergroup coming up July the 6th. So Terry is speaking. That's on there. So anyway, visit the website. Let us know what we need to add. Let us know what we need to change, and we'll move on from there. So
More importantly, I heard on that Terry P is the speaker, but Coleman is the MC, and that's the more important part of that interview.
Yes.
And that's direct from Coleman. That's a quote.
Coleman is emceeing it, man.
Coleman
Man, I
loves
love
him
him,
some
yes.
him,
He is moving on up in the world.
He is MCing that deal.
What a duo.
Yes. Yes. And so two of the funniest people I know. So
Whose Intergroup is it? Lunch Bunch?
yes.
Okay. So
Lunch Bunch at the Koala Club, yes.
Yep. So what's been going on with y'all? Anything special?
Cutting grass, it's 100 degrees.
It's 100.
That's been my life.
Sawing wood.
I've been doing this 15 years, and here's what I don't figure out. Everybody's like, you cut grass and it's in the summer? Man, you get in such good shape. I get fatter as the heat goes on, and I just sit here and sweat all year.
Maybe your metabolism's like a whale.
I don't know, man.
And if you move into warm water,
I'm like,
get more.
I'm like
Needs more
Tommy
blubber
Boy. I can actually hear myself getting fatter as I'm sweating. So
What a good movie.
yeah. Oh, great movie.
What a good movie.
Great movie.
That meant, July the 4th reminds me of downtown Madisonville. If you've never been to downtown Madisonville on July the 4th, nothing looks more quintessential Americana than downtown Madisonville.
Sure.
Well, not the side with all the meth and stuff. The other side.
Yeah. Well, that is
the side
America.
that has trees that haven't been climbed.
Amethica.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a very good time. I was thinking about that as I was driving over here today. I was thinking about how, July 4th. The country is 247 years old, right? It's not even 250 years old, and it'll be 250 years old here in a few years, but it is not even 250 years old. And I hope I'm around for the tricentennial, if that's what you call it. I guess I had to stay sober in order to do that. But,
Yeah, stick around for a while.
yeah. So it's gonna be amazing to see what this heat does to our brains while we stew around on a podcast.
Hey, it's been all year. I'm good with it. My brain doesn't change. So, yeah, I don't know. We're gonna fight through it, but so Damian, we kind of wanted you to get on here, and just happened to run into you the other day. Mike had asked about finding somebody just right out of treatment.
Right.
And you and I know each other from over there, and
Yep.
you want to just kind of give us a little starting of a little story of how you got here.
Sure. So I guess I'll start with where my addiction started. When I was 12 years old, my father, he passed away from suicide. Before that point, I had seen a lot of drug use, had come up kind of around drug use. And, but once my daddy died, that's when I kind of started smoking weed with my little brother and them. And it progressively got worse as this disease is progressive. And before I knew it, I was 17 years old. I was addicted to meth, addicted to cocaine, Roxy's, acid, mushrooms, a lot of different substances. I'm what you call a polysubstance abuser. And I've been trying to get sober pretty much since I started doing drugs. A lot of times other people telling me I had a problem, I needed to go to treatment. But, you know, this last time I went into rehab, I knew I could see that I had gotten out of control again, and was something that just started from smoking weed, turned into drinking a fifth at a time and just getting all the way out of control. I like to emphasize that this disease is progressive. You know what I mean? It starts a certain way, but before you know it, it's progressed and it's out of control again. And the insanity keeps you numb and keeps you kind of lulled to the point where you don't realize how bad it's getting until it's bad and too bad to deny. So, yeah, I went into treatment. I've been to treatment a lot of times. I've made pretty much any mistake you can make in a treatment, from getting into a relationship to walking out AMA. But like I say, this time was different for me, man. I found a higher power that wasn't myself, because a lot of times I fooled myself into thinking I had a higher power that wasn't me. But the whole time it was me I was praying to, and, you know, or asking God to do for me what I wanted him to do. And if he didn't do what I wanted him to do, I'd kind of cast him to the side and do it my way, until I realized once again that I was at the bottom. So, you know, that's pretty much how I got here.
So how old are you now?
I'm 21 years old.
21.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's what it impressed me when I met Damian. He has a great amount of knowledge in the short time that he's been on this planet, of how, like,
thank you, man.
He's been around this thing a while, you know, and it feels like he has, but he hasn't been here that long, you know.
Yeah.
And I think I drank and used longer than you've been alive.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like Phil right now, you know, with other people.
Well,
but,
a couple things he said. One is, I was drinking a fifth at a time, and someone that is not quite as probably knowledgeable, you know, about the disease would say a fifth a day.
Yeah.
You know, and he said a fifth at a time. Like between pass outs, most likely. Yeah. And then the second thing I noticed that he said was the progression. And, you know, he talked about the progression. And most people don't even, I was 38 years old before I would even openly admit that life had gotten worse over the years, not better, you know. So you got to figure I was almost double his age. Whenever that was, so
I was too. Yeah, me and you both were 38.
38. We got a couple things.
Me too.
Just
I mean, I was about 35. And talk about, you have definitely more insight than.
And when I was 21, I had no desire to get sober.
Well, I tried to get sober a couple of times. I mean, I didn't try to, but I did go to treatment a couple of times when I was 19.
Well, y'all have been around treatment centers, and so Damian, and I don't want to tell, how many times have you been to treatment?
Dude, it's crazy. I lost count after about 10 or 15.
Okay, there you go. But Damian was in there. I know he's in there a couple of times where I was at, that we knew each other. But the last time he was here, just recently, we had an AA meeting, and, you know, they go around with the standard stuff. And then Damian kind of started talking, and I was like, dang, I actually needed to hear that. Like, that was some good stuff
That's
right
awesome,
there.
man.
And I went up to him after. I was like, dude, you actually really had a share there. Like, that actually helped me out. So, yeah, he's got it going on. He's figuring this thing out. But, yeah, are you from here?
Yeah, I'm from Shreveport, but whenever I was little, I was raised in Houghton, and then you know, I had some stuff go on, and then we moved to Shreveport, and I've been in Shreveport probably since I was about, you know, 13, 14.
Okay. So what age were you when you first went to rehab?
I think I was like 13 or 14. I had been caught stealing liquor, stealing money. My mom sent me to Adolescent Cato, which was downtown. I think it's shut down since then. But yeah, I went there. At that time, it was a complete, I mean, I'm like the kind of guy that I can tell you what you want to hear, you know what I mean? And I can fool you so good that I start fooling myself and think that this is actually what I want until I look and see that my actions show something completely different. So yeah, I was definitely just playing the role, and I would say that you know, I've played the role a lot, and it wasn't until I'd get that first hit of money from my first little recovery job working at a restaurant or mowing lawns that my actions would truly show what I wanted, you know. So it's deception is definitely a scary thing, especially when you get to deceiving yourself and you don't even know it. That's a scary thing.
Yeah, kind of lying to yourself the whole time and just putting it off until.
You know, it's even scarier when you've lived in it for like over 20 years and you're like, God, that was just like, what was that?
Well,
yeah, right.
Let's think about this, right? Because Jill, you said it, and you said it, and you did. So you live in it so long, you believe it.
Right.
And then you don't understand why other people don't believe it.
Yeah, it almost insults you when they don't believe you.
And it kind of like there's you really believe it deep wholeheartedly.
Well, I felt like a complete moron because, like, how did I not see that? I'd be like complete train wreck. I mean, just oblivious.
I was very lucky. I've said this on here before, but I was very lucky when I got in there. The lady I had as a counselor, I was kind of arrogant about it and had no reason to be. Okay, like I had nothing. And she was like, "Oh, you got it figured out. Well, let's review." And she just went down this deal. You know, you don't have a place to live. You don't have any shoes. You haven't eaten in 2 weeks.
Yeah, but
But I'm over there puffing, you know, popping my collar, as Fred Stamper says. And yeah. And I'm going, wait a minute. And then after she got to about 15 or 20 of those, I was like, okay, enough. I've had enough. I got it.
Yeah.
And so whatever that was clicked, and I went, I gotta do something different. And it kind of cracked that little egg of bullshit that I had going on and was protecting. And, you know, I always figured it was someone else. It was everybody else. If they'd get off my ass, then
right.
Yeah, it talks about in the big book that you know, we're the chief critic. And we know the flaw in every person, every situation. It also talks about being like a stage manager kind of alcoholic, where if everyone would just stay in their role and if everyone would just hold the lights a certain way, everything would go great. But it rarely happens that way.
Right.
Yep.
We have to be the director.
Yeah. We're so busy doing that. And I'm so glad today I don't direct anything, man. I don't
care.
I feel like I'm surfing like a surfer dude. That's what I feel like in life. I'm just
a lot of people don't catch it when they read the big book, but in the big book, in that part right there, it talks about being the actor and the director.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. And that is not that. Well, that's just kind of two things that, and you know, don't get me wrong, some people direct their own movies. Clint Eastwood did a lot of it, right? But being the actor and the director in life is just a little bit kind of a different show.
It's exhausting.
But you have to be both. You have to be the superstar and you have to be the one that controls everybody else and what they do. And that is a very bad situation.
Yeah.
What a relief it was to find out that I didn't have to run things anymore.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. So, what do you feel like? Do you feel like, because we started this thing for people that are needing help, that maybe don't know where to go. This is a resource. They can listen to all kind of different people on here and all kind of different things. But where along the line do you feel like we have a lot of people that go to treatment a lot, and they do get it. You know, it takes what it takes. But what do you feel like? Has it been a kind of a culmination of all those things, or do you just feel like something finally?
See, I don't know. I think, actually, I do know. I think a lot of it had to do with prayer, man. And whenever I stopped praying with resentments and started praying with an open heart and with forgiveness in my heart, I think God was like, okay, now you're ready. Now I can work on you. There was a lot of times, like I said, I say I was praying to myself. I say that because I would pray completely in my will and say, all right, God, I love you. Thank you for waking me up. Now this is what I need you to do today. And that's just completely backwards, man. You know, my higher power is the creator of the universe. He knows everything. And I'm sitting here in my mortal little position trying to tell him what I need him to do for me. So I think it took the right heart posture for me and a combination of that and prayer. And then things really started changing. Whenever I admitted that I don't know anything and that I was broken, that gave God a little bit of more room to work with me, as opposed to me thinking that I know everything and everybody needs to listen to me.
Yeah. Well, and it's pretty freeing too, man. When you just go, you know what? I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm putting my hands up. I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other. That's all I can do.
Yeah.
Really, all I got any control over. I'm going to do that and see what happens and let God handle it. And it's funny how that starts working out.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what they mean. I think whenever they say that this is the only battle you can win by putting down a sword and stop fighting, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. To surrender is to win. And
that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So with anybody, that leaves treatment, they get the old discharge plan.
Yeah.
What were your suggestions?
90 and 90.
Okay.
Go to sober living and stay out of relationships. Get a sponsor. Find a higher power. It sounds like a lot. It may sound daunting, but I mean, what are people really willing to do for this way of life? You know what I mean? Exactly.
And it is. At first, I remember reading mine. I was like, oh, sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And it just didn't at all go the way I thought it did. I did not stay in the halfway house for 6 months. I stayed 9 months because my sponsor laughed in my face and said, "You're absolutely not ready to go." My 90 and 90 turned into 6 months of straight meetings every day. But, I could just always recall my counselor, "Are you willing to go to any length?" Oh,
yeah. I had the same speech.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah. I mean, that is a lot. It is overwhelming for the newcomer.
Right.
I mean, because we're still trying to figure out if this is what we want to do. And it sounds like you've been around, long enough to know what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So has that motivated you to do something different this time?
I think it did, but what motivated me the most was literally not wanting to disappoint people again. There's no pain I felt, no mental pain that I felt worse than that call from the rehab to tell your family that you're back there and that you're sorry that you messed up again. You hope that they still love you and that they don't hate you because your actions show that you're a failure and your actions show that you're a POS. But to call them and say, "Hey, I'm safe. I'm here. I'm not on the streets anymore." That's a very humbling. That's a very painful experience, and that's what motivated me the most. I remember one moment of clarity that I had in the past. I had called my mom from a treatment center and said that I'm safe and that I'm okay. And I had just AMA'd from another treatment center like 3 or 4 days before, stayed in the trap house for a little while, and then decided I needed help again.
And for those that don't know what that means, is against medical advice.
Yeah. And so I called her and she said, "Damian, what are you doing? You're scaring me." And she was like, I'm scared right now. And that was a moment of clarity for me that, a son is supposed to bring comfort. A son is supposed to bring support. A son is not supposed to bring fear, And so I think those two things, like the humiliation and the pain that I was causing others, are the main things that motivated me.
Yeah. You're impressive. You're incredibly impressive.
No, that's not me. That's my higher power at work.
Man, I mean, like when I was your age, I had zero insight.
Yeah.
Like absolutely none.
My thought was, where the weed at?
Yeah. And when I was that age now, but you got to remember, I don't know if any of y'all were battling it like that when you were that age either.
Yes.
I wasn't. I wasn't. I probably didn't really start drinking professionally until I was about 27.
Yeah.
So the thought of rehab and all that other stuff was something that other people did, and heaven help them. Lord, I don't like to see anybody go through that, and, hope they make it. But I never thought that I would be part of that.
Right.
So there's a lot of people that have been in and out of treatment a lot. And we all of us are around treatment centers. We go speak at them. We do all those things. We've all been in them. So there's people out there that have been 6, 8, 10, 15 times. I was at one out here one night doing a meeting, and a guy been there almost 30 times.
Damn.
30 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a record for me. That's the most I've heard. But what could you say to people, though, as far as treatment centers and doing things? What have you found?
Yeah.
What's been different for you, or that you can encourage somebody to?
Man, I would say get honest with yourself. Decide what you want. I hate to say it so blunt and so brutally, but like, if you don't want this way of life, I know they say keep coming back, but I mean, if that's what you want, then go and do it. But whatever you do, do wholeheartedly, and to thine own self be true. I would say, like, my mom texted me at one point and she said, "Damian, if you want to drink and do drugs, and quit going to rehab, if that's what you want to do, but quit going to rehab, coming out and relapsing the first day out, because it doesn't make any sense." But I would accredit this fight that I've had to the insight that y'all say that I have. And because I knew that there was a problem from a very young age. I knew that I couldn't use like other people, even at 13, 14 years old, because when everyone else was done, I was on the floor. You know what I mean? I'm looking for more. And so, yeah, I would say to thine own self be true, man, and have some insight, have some honesty with yourself, and find anything greater than yourself and cling on to it, you know?
And to follow up what Jill said too, and I was the same way. I had a discharge plan. We went through that discharge plan. I did what the lady asked me to do, and the 90 and 90 turned into a year's worth, you know, and because I was scared to death to go back to doing what I was doing.
Right.
And it was uncomfortable. I was not used to it. I was 38 years old. I didn't know how to get up and go through the day without something in my body to change the way I felt. It was awkward. I was not the best behaved person at times. Still ain't, but a lot better than I used to be. But it took what it took. And I knew I couldn't. The only thing I had was a fear of going back to where I was. And I couldn't do that. So somewhere in there, I just said, you know what? If this sucks, it's just going to suck.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stick it out. And all of a sudden, doing those meetings and doing those steps and being around people like me that were doing good at sobriety and life and had been doing it a little while, things started to ease up just a little bit. It was just to ease up. It was never this magical moment. It was never any of that. It was a long, somewhat painful, uncomfortable. Jill's laughing. We know. I mean, like,
it was horrible. I was socially inept. I mean, I would ask myself, like, what am I doing? I felt like I was in this, like, this awkward, like, in between worlds of this new life and the old life, and like, is this real? Am I really sitting in a meeting in Delhi, Louisiana?
Is that where it was?
We're trying to like change everything in our character, our personality, all those things that we either tamped down years ago and just kept hidden that are trying to come back out, or whatever it might be. And it can be so awkward, and that's what's hard for people to go, this is just too much. I can't do it.
Bewildering to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
they say baby steps, and that was I get that now. Like,
you know, what helps me a lot is not putting a time limit on things. Like, for me, I'm not planning to do 90 and 90. I'm just planning to go to a meeting today. And you know, I don't like to put time limits on things, because then it becomes daunting and I kind of get weak at the knees, you know, because 90 days is a long time. I'm 21 years old, and saying that I'll go every New Year's for the rest of my life without a bottle of champagne, it's very daunting and it's very scary. So it's easier for me to just do, like they say, easy does it one day at a time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's the whole ticket, bro. You know, I mean, it's you can even break it down smaller than that, and I did quite a bit. If we can get to lunch.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Were there any suggestions you were like,
At this point, no, but before, definitely the relationship thing. So I'll go ahead and fess up, man. The last time I was in rehab before this, I was in a treatment center, and we were playing a little game, and this girl walks in and sits right across from me, and I catch her eyes, and we fall in love instantly. At least so I thought.
Instant.
Yeah, you know, love at first sight, you know.
a lot of times it is.
Yeah, but so long story short, they used to have this thing at the rehab where an hour a day you would go outside and have a co-ed recreation time where you could go sit at the basketball court out of the text view, or you know, play spades or play dominoes.
Love was in the air.
Yeah, love was in the air for sure. And so me and her made the master plan.
You kids go bang it out.
So me and her, we made the master plan to skip rehab and go straight to her house, or her parents' trailer, I should say. And one thing led to another, man, and she broke my heart. She cheated on me with her ex, and you know, I told her while I was in the treatment center that I was not interested in doing any drugs, that I was not interested in drinking. But as soon as we get out, she already had weed available. And so I, of course, started smoking weed with her. And whenever she broke my heart, I started drinking to try to numb the pain. and that's what led me to rehab this time. But definitely while I was in there and they were telling me, hey, this is not going to work, you should get out of that relationship as quick as possible, I was like, man, they don't know what they're talking about. I found true love. You know, love is blind. Love can happen anywhere. I can tell you right now that everybody in the rehab was going for it and was happy for me, but listen to the text, man. Listen to the people with years of sobriety as opposed to hours or days of sobriety.
Yeah, that's just life in general, though. It's like, you know.
Have y'all ever seen that movie about the two people that meet in rehab and fall in love?
28 days. I think that's it, ain't it?
I don't think they really
days.
have a movie about two people in rehab that fall in love and actually make it forever.
No, they do.
Oh, that make it?
Yeah.
I don't know if they make it. I don't remember the end. I probably fell asleep,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't think they have one.
I mean,
No,
even if they had one, the success rate on that, the percent.
They don't even have a book.
One out of 18 gazillion
Yeah,
succeeded.
I do know one.
You
And
did?
they've been married for 5 years. I was a bridesmaid.
They met in rehab?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, my hat's off to him, man. But the way I see it, I'm a sick person at this point, and the other person that's in a 28-day program is more than likely not cured of their disease, and so their symptoms of their addiction or alcoholism will be present. And we should know that the symptoms are not just drinking and using, but it's selfishness, it's self-centeredness, it's anger, it's a whole plethora of things, you know.
The isms.
Yeah, all the isms. And so my sponsor told me whenever this girl did that to me, he said, man, you can't really fault her, bro. You chose to have a sick person to have a relationship with, so how can you be mad at them for their symptoms? We don't get mad at a person with a cold when they sneeze or cough. That's a symptom of their disease.
Yeah, that's what I say about all mine, man.
Can't be mad.
You can't fault them for,
Can't be mad at you.
you know, when you go for the best, you got to forget
Yeah.
all the rest.
Yeah, you got to pay the cost to be the boss.
Well,
So we were talking about straight out of rehab about this episode, and I was thinking about, you know, it is a serious thing, and everybody's thrown into this place, and you don't know all these other people. You know, it's all walks of life. And I remember the one I was in. I don't think that 90-something day period of time as I've ever laughed as hard in my life as I did those 90 days. I was in there with some of the funniest people on the planet, and I enjoyed it. Like, I had a good time, and we had a great program there. It was go, go, go. We did it all day, but we still had a blast, and it was just some great people.
Yeah.
What have you through your rehab things, what have you enjoyed or liked about anything that stuck out like that?
Yeah. So I'm gonna refer to the big book again. The camaraderie, man. The like, for the people that are not unwilling to be there, there's a certain camaraderie. For the people that have realized that there's a way out and that they don't have to live their lives the way they've been living them anymore, then you can joke around, and it's not just a defense mechanism to hide all your dirty secrets. You know, it's like actually, I don't know. I really like the fellowship, man. I like the people that don't sit around and tell war stories, but the people that are actually talking about the steps on smoke breaks, and the people that are talking about getting a sponsor and stuff like that, because we all know how to use drugs and we all know where they take us. So it's kind of pointless to me to volunteer to come to a rehab and then sit in there and talk about how much drugs you did.
And I get irritated. I don't know if you were in there maybe when I did it one time, but we had a meeting at work, and I go out on the back patio to get everybody in to do the meeting, and they're talking about how much money they made selling dope and what they were wearing and all this. And I went in and I said, hey, everybody raise your hand if you got dropped off in a limo today. You got your fur coat on.
Yeah.
And there's no hands go up. And I'm like, raise your hand if all your family loves you so much and they're so proud that you're here with us at treatment. Nobody.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's like, why are we glorifying something and you're sitting in a dang rehab, you know?
Yeah. You know,
False pride.
Something else that's funny is the people that walk around and say, man, you can't tell me what to do. I'm a grown man, or I'm a grown woman. Yeah, but
by the looks of it, you sure.
Grown folks don't have to be told when to go to eat and when to go to sleep. You know, our lives are unmanageable. We're the farthest thing from grown.
And it just, man, it part of that, I think people get into rehab too, and they want to buck all the rules because we never followed rules. You know, I still don't like rules, but I had to follow them. Full confession. I ran a red light today because it was taking too long, and I didn't have no air conditioning in my dang truck, and I got tired of waiting. There wasn't no other car right before I picked you up, Damian. But That's about as outlaw as I get these days.
Yeah.
Okay, it was almost deserted street, but anyway, they shouldn't have left that light that red that long.
Yeah,
So
it's
it was
their fault.
ridiculous.
Oh, yes,
But,
them.
Yeah.
Blame
Who's
Um,
they?
huh?
Like you guys,
The man, bro, the
Government.
man.
I think it's on a timer.
Yeah, the man.
The man did that. But
Yeah, I think they're on
you
a
know,
timer.
you get into rehab and all of a sudden it's wake up at 5 o'clock, take your meds at 6 o'clock, go eat breakfast at 7. You do all these things, and everybody starts bucking, and they go, "What's that got to do with me not doing drugs and alcohol?"
Everything.
Everything.
Man,
100%.
I didn't realize how much I needed structure in my life.
Yeah, if you
And be told what to do, like make your bed. I was like, why would I make my
Mhm.
bed? I'm about to get back in it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's a thing of,
Shut up! Don't talk to me.
can you do the small routine things and get yourself? It's number one, putting new patterns of things together.
Right.
And learning that right off the bat, but also doing something even though you don't like doing it or think it's the right thing to do, doing it because that's what's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
And that's the way most people stay sober. They have to do things that they don't necessarily like to do.
Exactly. For me, it was about like I said earlier, realizing that I came to the realization that I don't know how to stay sober and I don't know how to live life and be a functioning human who produces things for society. And so I had to come to the realization that other people do. And then maybe if I listen to other people and do whatever they tell me to do, I might make it out of this. So even if you told me some crazy thing to do to stay sober, even though it sounds crazy to me, I'm more than likely going to do it because I'm not depending on my thinking anymore.
And as early on as you are, here's what's awesome. You're going to hear a lot of stuff from a lot of people. But if you keep hanging around the program and you keep seeing folks that are staying sober for a long time, they're just telling you the same 2 or 3 things.
Yeah.
All
Mhm.
telling you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Black, white, Chinese, old, young, it does not matter.
It's a simple program.
Everybody, it is. And they all do those same few things, helping other people, reading a big book, having a sponsor, working the steps, and going to meetings. You do those things, you're going to be fine. You know,
Yeah.
put that effort in every single day. And that's just like making your bed, eat your breakfast, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know? So I love that guys will get in there and just raise hell. And I'm like, but you're going to sit down there in the meeting this morning and tell us all the entire big book, but you cuss out the staff and over, you threw
Yeah.
Snickers wrappers all over your floor and don't want to pick them up,
That's
know,
playing that role, man. Is
Mhm.
we're really good actors and we're really good at doing what we need to do to manipulate. And like I said, that was me, man. I would come in and I would try to run the group. I would be the best counselor you'd ever heard, at least in my eyes, you know, and cut the counselor off and correct her and tell her better things to say, you know, when first day out, right back to it. Because the fact of the matter is, like I said, I don't know how to do this, man. I need somebody else to help me. And
Have you been in sober living before, or is this your first time?
yeah, I've been in sober living. I've dare I say, I've burned a lot of sober living houses, man. I've burned a lot. And it's getting like, I'm at the point in my life, even just 21 years old, where I'm running out of places to go because I've done them bad. I've running out of jobs because a lot of people will not rehire me. And, you know, in the addiction, it was just like a F it attitude. Like whatever happens, happens. I'm not too worried about tomorrow. But now I have to be worried about tomorrow because if I mess up this time, my insurance has actually labeled me high risk and says they're very unlikely to pay for another inpatient stay.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. And so it's like a wake up call, man, that this is not something to play with. You know, not only am I at risk of dying because of the way that the game is nowadays, but I'm also at risk of running out of programs and running out of halfway houses. And the last thing I want is to be in a homeless shelter.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I you know, as bad as it is sometimes too, I've had sponsees and we go, I'm not going to say any particular places, but I've taken some of them that have that thing of like, oh, well, I'll go to rehab again if I mess up, or I'll do this and that.
Yeah.
And take them to see some vets that haven't gotten that and they're 70, 60, 70 years old. Some folks that are homeless.
Yeah.
Imagine being that right now. It's 101, 102 and you're living in the
Man.
woods. I mean, you're 21, man. You got the whole world in front of you.
Yeah.
You know, and nothing better than seeing you guys get it, and young ladies too. But seeing you guys get it, and sometimes it takes that perspective of going, man, I can rock on like this, doing what I'm doing for another 30 years, and then I am going to be living in the woods or in jail
Yeah.
or somewhere. That's going to be my permanent residence.
That's
because-
something I've had to catch myself because of, like I said, I would kind of play the system, and I would get comfortable in rehabs and go in there. It's just like a vacation, dude. It's like I'm getting fed. I got a bed, man. I got people to joke around with. Go in the group, don't take it seriously. You know what I mean? So it's definitely something to watch out for. You don't want to get comfortable in those situations. I've heard of people that are like in prison or in jail. They stand up the whole time. They don't want to sit down because they don't want to get comfortable in a place like that. And that's like a bit extreme, but that's the right mentality to have. You don't want to get comfortable in that situation because, I mean, I was in detox with this guy that all the staff knew him by first name basis. They knew all his favorite snacks and everything like that because he would come in there almost every weekend.
Yeah.
And that's just
like Otis on Andy Griffith.
he's
Just
happy,
sleep it
man.
off.
He's
bro,
happy
you know?
with it.
Yeah.
He's happy with it.
Yeah, I've
That's
actually
scary.
I've been in rehab with guys. You know, they knew the counselors by their first name, and
Yeah.
you know, and you know the counselors even tell you on the side, you know, just don't worry about Ted. You know, he's a regular. You know, he's
He's a veteran.
Yeah.
He's not going to help you get sober, man. You need to pay attention to this guy over here.
And you know, you can kind of get that feel too of working in it when they show up and they're coming in and they go, I need this size clothes out of the community stuff. I need this size shoes. I need,
Yeah.
are y'all still using Degree deodorant in my hygiene kit, or do I need a speed stick? Do we upgrade? It's like, whoa, bro, how many times you been here? You know? And yeah, and it almost like I talked to that guy that said he had been in 30 times, and I talked to him after that meeting, and he was old. He was in his 70s,
Yeah.
and I'm like, dude, you're sitting in a damn treatment center. You're 70 years old, like, you know. But for him, it was like you said. It was just like, oh, I'll go screw up for a little while, and then I'll get a roof over my head, and they'll feed me, and then I'll just go back and go to screwing up, and I just didn't want that life. I'm glad that
I had to take that option off the table, man. I had to say that no matter what, like going to rehab is not an option. You know, failure is not an option. I have to do this because if I don't, then I'm going to die.
But what you said that I liked was the gift of desperation is what I heard. I'm running out of jobs. I'm running out of sober living. I've burned everything. When you get to that point, that's actually a good point to be at because you ain't got nowhere to go but up, brother.
That's right.
You know, you at that point, you're at that decision to where I can either screw this up really bad permanently or I can start getting better.
Yeah.
And so it's actually a good place to be at, you know.
So we've all, I guess, you went to treatment, right?
Yeah, I've been a bunch.
Yeah. Matt,
One.
you went one time.
90 days.
I went many. He's been probably more than all of us put together.
Yeah.
So while you were in treatment, though, think about this, and what the listener needs to hear is an honest answer, right? Not what they. And I'm not directing that at anybody. Let's just think about it. What did you want to do right out of treatment? Like straight out, you walk out the front door. What was your? I'm gonna go do this, or I really want to go do this. What was it?
As far as just a fun thing or life?
Just anything. Like, just what was your thoughts? I've been in there for X amount of days.
I wanted to go to a Mexican restaurant.
I know,
Hey,
it
I was
always
just
was
thinking
food.
that.
It was,
I went to Tupelo, Mississippi. I don't even know the name of the damn place, but when we left, I said, go straight. I want chips and salsa.
that and listen to music. You know, because we didn't have TVs or anything.
Speaking of that, so I did the transition at my rehab. So it was 30 days. They call it 3.1 here.
Yeah.
30 days, a regular program. Then I graduated. I stayed and I had a job, but I was still in the wing with the men and all that. And I would go to class when I wasn't working, go to my groups and all. But when you transition, you got one perk that the other guys didn't get. And the only thing you could use it for was when you were outside of the building in the smoking area. Well, transition could actually walk out and smoke, not on a scheduled smoke break, which was awesome. But our perk, we had to use it outside while the other clients weren't out there. And I got a little MP3 player with a headphone. And my wife at the time downloaded a bunch of stuff on it. So it comes in.
Napster. She was on Napster.
So it comes in and I'm fired up. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I wonder what she put on there, you know? And my counselor goes, I'm supposed to listen to every song on here to make sure there's nothing glorifying drug use, alcohol, sex, whatever. And I'm like, I'm sure it's like Lauren Daigle, most of it, you know?
Yeah.
And she goes, but I'm going to trust you. And she gave it to me and it was like Godsmack, you know, stuff like that. But me and my buddy would sit out there every morning with one earbud and one in his, one in mine. And we'd listen every morning. And I love that, you know?
But you know what's sad? What I didn't want to do this last time I went to treatment in 2010? I didn't want to do AA.
Yeah, well, I don't think I did either.
And my mother was like, I think you better
Well,
do what they suggest, Jill.
I tell you, there was so I'm 51 years old, and there is probably 60 minutes in my life that changed my life, and that was the 60 minutes where I was debating on whether or not I was going to actually go to AA this time.
Yeah.
And I get in the car and I drive up there and I sit in the parking lot, and you don't want to go in too early because somebody might make you read, or heaven forbid they speak to you.
Yeah.
And like there's 60 minutes though where I did not know, but straight out of rehab, 2 or 3 times I went straight to the liquor store. You know, I remember, I think it was my ex-wife, I'm not sure, but someone took me straight to the liquor store. I'm like, man, I've been in there for 15 days. I need some
to drink.
Shit,
Pat
I
on the
gotta have
back.
some alcohol, man. Yeah, you got to be drunk to put up with those bastards, man. My last time out of rehab though, so I didn't have a ride lined up to pick me up. I didn't have any of that. Didn't know how I was going to get home. And they had a $13,000 bill I needed to pay. And so that kind of threw, you know, they're telling you, you know, you need to take it easy, relax, you know, where, but you got 13 grand due right now, bro. So you need to come up with
relax, but write us a check as you're relaxing.
Yeah. So, you know, that was kind of weird. And then they were like, what? And then some other stuff happened with some phone calls about insurance and all these other things, but there was nothing settling about my trip out of.
Were you like, screw this?
Well, I mean, it's like, I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, you going to keep me? You know, I mean, what do you do? You keep me after, you know, if I don't come up with 13
Wash
grand?
the dishes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to go home no matter what, you know?
Yeah.
There was a dude when I was in treatment that was supposed to do 30 days and they can't release you without having a place for you to go. Well, the guy was homeless and all the shelters were full around Memphis. And that guy ended up doing like 5 months because he would just hang out. There was nothing they could do. They couldn't let him go. And yeah, dude was in there the whole time I was in there, man. He was like working there and stuff. So
Well, he was washing the dishes.
he was like mopping and yeah, he was doing
Earning
all
his
that.
keep, huh? Yeah.
Oh man, I'm telling you, but we had a when I got into the transition part, they would give you your own wing of the rehab, but they would leave a bed open with you, so it'd be a transition guy, and they always put a brand new guy first weekend.
Don't you
treatment.
dare forget where you came from.
Yeah, don't even get me started. But so every week I was getting a new guy whose first week was in there, and he can't sleep, he can't do all that crap. So this guy comes in, we're laying. I'm like, "What's up with you, man?" He was a young guy like you. He's 20, 21 years old. He was facing a year in jail because of DUIs or whatever. Like, he had some serious stuff he was looking at. Had to complete 30 days of treatment. So I'm like, what's up with you? And he goes, "Man, here's how I got in here, man." And he's dead serious. You know, we're laying in our bunks. The lights are out. We're just sitting there talking, and he's dead serious. And he goes, "Man, I was drunk. I was out in my truck. It was like 2:00 in the morning." And he said, I'm drinking all the time. I'm always in trouble. I'm miserable. I'm depressed." And he goes, "I had a bottle on my knee and a pistol in my lap." And he said, "I was just going to kill myself sitting in my truck in my driveway." And he said, "I had the radio on." And I'm listening like, holy shit, you know? And he goes, "I had the radio on and a commercial came on. And it said, if you feel like you're going to commit suicide, dial this number and we'll help you." And he goes, "This is God." And he said, I started crying. And he said, the gun was in my lap. And he said, "Man," I was like, "God's intervened." And he said, "I picked up the phone and I dialed the number. I didn't even give myself time to think about it." And he said, "As soon as they answered the phone, I just started blabbing all this stuff. I'm an alcoholic. I'm sitting in my truck. I'm ready to kill myself. I'm miserable. I'm all this stuff." And he said, "I just word vomit all my feelings and stuff out." And he goes, "I finally stopped." And the guy on the other end goes, "Hey, man, I feel real bad about that. I don't know what number you called, but I'm the night manager at a warehouse."
Oh man.
And he goes, "I'm really sorry." Like,
He
he goes,
stayed on the phone the whole time.
He goes, I didn't kill myself, man, but I wound up coming up here. And I said, "So it was God, really?" You know, but oh man, it was so funny. I mean, you don't know whether to laugh, but I did. I laughed, and he was laughing too. So
Wow.
But hey, to answer your question, man, coming out of rehab, I wanted to do anything other than what I'd been doing.
Yeah.
I wanted to do anything other than disappointing my family mainly. Like I said, man, it's really humiliating, especially people that never struggled with addiction in their life. And my family, when I call them over the phone and they're not really understanding why I'm doing the things that I'm doing, and they're angry with me and wishing I would just make better choices. So I wanted to follow suggestions, and I wanted to go to a meeting. You said you didn't want to do AA. That was like the first thing on my mind, is I can't wait to be in a real AA meeting. You know, because there's a lot of lip service in the treatment center AAs, and guys trying to convince themselves and trying to convince the other people around them that they're better now, you know.
And the thing in those too is there's not the sobriety in there yet.
Yeah.
So there's not like, I would look around and just be like, what do I have to share about? Like I'm 2 weeks sober. Like
right.
I still have drugs in my system
still
right
in
now.
a pity pot.
I don't even know what the big book is. So you get a mix of that in treatment. But yeah, and I got out too. Yeah, I wanted to eat Mexican food, but I want to show everybody that I've done change. You know, I've done this thing, and I'm going to hit it 100 miles an hour. And that's really good. And I hear people all the time in treatment go, I'm doing this for my little girl. I'm doing this for my kids. I'm doing this for my wife. Well, that was kind of the train of thought when I got out, was I'm going to give this my best shot for them. And that's great. But what I figured out as I hung around was I had to do that for me.
Right.
And then they would benefit from that. But from then on, it became, I understood God made me just like he made all those other people. And I deserve to do right and be okay too. And that I didn't do stuff like that for everybody. You know, I can do it for them, but at the end of the day, it's for me. And, sometimes it takes a minute to get to that realization, but,
I do know I was scared to death.
I was too.
And it's like what they say in the book. I feel like that was a point where I was standing in the crossroads. I knew I was going to go to the halfway house. I knew that much. And I didn't know that, like, we really had to go to meetings. I mean, I just didn't know anything. And I think that's what scared me the most. Like, what does this all mean? Like, is this going to be the rest? Like, am I actually going to do this? I'm scared. I don't know what to do. And I had no idea what anything, I couldn't even imagine what anything would be like. And that is incredibly scary for someone that likes to control, all the outcomes. And
were you afraid of failure?
I was afraid of everything.
I'm kind of like Jill. I just didn't want to be out there. I didn't want to. I kind of
used to failure.
Yeah.
Going into rehab, I didn't want to really go. I didn't want to be there, and then coming out, I did not want to come out. I did not trust myself.
I asked them if I could stay another week, and that was after I stayed another week.
Wow.
I was like, I don't want to leave.
So when you asked them if you could stay another week, did they let you?
Not the second time.
I mean, how did they tell you no?
Because they asked her insurance company and said,
yeah.
"Oh, but yeah, it just sometimes."
No, they were like, "You're ready."
Gotcha.
You're ready. And I was like, okay, here goes nothing. And it is.
Uh-oh,
I mean, like you're, I was 35, and it's just like, I have no idea what's about to happen. And I'm just plunging in, and it's just kind of like, I don't know. I kind of have this new like higher power thing, and I don't know who you are and what you are, but I'm just doing this. And it's like the biggest leap of faith I've ever taken in my life.
It is kind of nuts, isn't it?
It is.
I got here on a
winning streak.
No, the worst losing streak of all time. But I got here on like a Tuesday. Went to the Koala Club, the 5:30, came back the next day, went to the noon, then went to the 5:30 again. My sponsor was sitting, the guy who ended up being my sponsor was sitting 2-3 chairs away. And he raised his hand when they said, "Are people willing to sponsor?" I didn't know what the fuck a sponsor was. But my therapist, counselor, made sure, she said, "Idiot, go to a place that has AA meetings wherever you're going and go in there and ask somebody to sponsor you. It doesn't matter who it is. Just go ask them." I said, okay. I told her I would do it. I'm nervous already. It's been 24 hours. I don't have a sponsor. I've got to figure this out. Mm-hmm. So this dude raised his hand. I watch him a little bit. I'm like, he don't look like a serial killer. That's all I knew about the guy. And it's like asking out a chick, though.
Oh,
man.
my gosh. It was the most embarrassing. I couldn't even look her in the eye. I had to like turn my back to her.
Well, with Bobby, it is kind of asking out.
I mean, look. I don't want to comment too much.
Is that not the weirdest experience?
It is, because you're here. Think about this. You've just withdrawn all these drugs and shit out of your system. and your nerves and all that still ain't. And
No.
then if you know what I think if it means something to you, yeah, then you are going to be nervous. If you're really
If you're really
going,
serious about
Yeah.
recovery, then you should be.
yeah,
I knew she
think-
would say no.
Well, Bobby told me I was temporary, and I just celebrated
Yeah, a lot of them do that.
6
You
years,
still are.
and I'm still temporary. I told me the other day, so I'm
My
good
sponsor,
with
one of my sponsor in New Orleans, Jerry. He would say, his sponsor had been his temporary sponsor. The time I left was like 14 years. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I got someone that I thought was cool.
Yeah.
They're not sober.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many years did they have?
I don't even remember.
Man,
I
that's-
don't, to be honest with
that.
you.
Bobby used to text me. I'd say, "Good morning," and he'd go, "It's a great day to be sober." And I think, "Is it though?" Like, really?
Yeah, really.
I don't think it is.
Whenever I was in treatment just now, there was a guy that was like, "Hey man, whenever I get out, will you be my sponsor?" And I was like, "Dude, I think you should find somebody that's been clean for a little longer than me."
You've been here a whole week longer than me. Dude. That's another part in rehab, man. Like you go and you're in your 4th week there, and some dude shows up 3 days in, and he's like, "Holy shit, this guy's old, man! Like he's been in here, like you're an antique or something,
Yeah. But with my sponsor though, me and him really hit it off. Like I felt like I'd known him for a long time. I'd obviously I'd seen him coming in the treatment centers and speaking where I'd be at, but like whenever he talked, something about the way he talks and the things that he says just resonates different with me. Matt could tell me 100 times really good advice to help me stay sober, and it'll likely go over my head. But when my sponsor tells me these things, I just listen. And I think that that's very important, to find somebody that you're willing to listen to. And I know that that's very hard, especially early sobriety, because, we might think we still know best, but to find somebody that you don't have a problem with listening to, because you have to know in your mind that they know better than you. And, I found somebody too that was worse off than I was, because I know if he could do it, then I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important.
My first sponsor, the one that was so cool, we did the steps in a 30-minute car ride from Rayville to Monroe. All of them.
That's a pretty good time.
Yeah, that's a record.
Y'all made it in 30 minutes?
That's what I was thinking.
You make amends from the car.
And I remember thinking,
Facebook them in.
Yeah.
A blanket apology to
well,
everybody
she
out
just kind of was like, okay, and then this is what you do for this, and then we just talked, and then it's like, okay, you did it. And I
there.
was
Smoke a
like,
joint?
and I remember like all my friends were like, in the halfway house were just like doing all this crazy stuff, and it just so happened that her mother owned the house, and she's like, I was like, I don't know, something just seems off. Like we did the steps like just on the car ride, and she was just like, I told you not to get her, and I was just like,
Man.
I mean, I didn't know. She just
So you're saying there was no spiritual awakening?
Yeah.
no, and I knew something was off, and I knew something was weird, and then that's when I got my sponsor I had for like 7-8 years, my first one.
Now, your first one, the real sponsors, passed away, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. Yeah, my first real one had passed away too.
She was amazing, and she taught me so many things that I was so blessed to have her.
I'm pretty grateful with mine too. And Damian, you're talking about the one person that you'll listen to, right?
Yeah.
Well, it starts there.
Yeah.
And as you get better, that's what I've noticed today. There's people that aren't in the program at all that are just good people that I've learned to listen to other people. And I have people that don't know anything about Alcoholics Anonymous, but I'll go sit with them sometimes if I have something going on that they can help me with.
Right.
And they'll say, oh, well, do this or do that. And I had one the other day, he's almost in his 70s, and we were talking, and he goes, I got a mentor. And I was like, really? And he goes, and I mean, the guy's got all kind of money. He's successful at everything he does. And he goes, yeah, man, he's 90-something years old. I talk to him all the time. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
it opened that door of that ego of, I'm going to listen to somebody else. And it may just be this one dang person, but I'm going to do. And I learned to see results from it. And I saw the benefits of it. And it's kind of grown, to where there's a little circle and a lot of AA people and some non-AA people,
Yeah. Yeah. Even the best people, the richest people in the world have somebody that they go to for advice.
But it's the humility of it. And you realize, okay,
It is
people,
humiliating.
I mean, it's keeping yourself grounded enough to go, I don't know everything.
Yeah.
And like now I look forward to calling them with something, and I've gotten far enough along where I feel like maybe this is the right thing to do, but I'll call them and go, hey, what do you think about this? And they tell me what I was thinking. I go, okay, then my head's kind of where it needs to be.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the exact opposite.
Well, you know, before I forget, I want to say this. So I went to rehab a lot, and every single time they told me when I got out of rehab to go straight to AA. Okay. And the last time I went straight to AA.
Yeah.
And 13 years and some days later, I'm still sober.
Mm-hmm.
So that alone should tell me that getting out of rehab probably need to do what the folks at the rehab clinic tell you to do.
You know, I couldn't agree more. And that just made me think about like one of my first meetings. It was actually Lacey Paul.
Yeah.
And it scared the living
I've never been
hell
to
out
that.
of me.
I haven't either.
We had just got out of treatment. And so we were like, well, let's just go to Lacey Paul. And it was like my first weekend out of treatment. And there were people dancing and having fun. I started crying. And then
Yeah, I've heard of them having raves and stuff over there.
Yeah.
We drove back to Monroe. We were all horrified. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this.
I don't want to get into the race.
It's a lot of dancing. And
It goes back to that fake alcohol we was talking about a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, I did. I know y'all think
What,
I've
Zima?
never been in a rave, but
No,
I have
that's
been in a
real.
couple, and that was interesting. But
You know, I saw Dak Shepard has a commercial for some alcohol-free beer. Now, wouldn't do
Gross.
it, don't promote it, don't do any of that, but I'm just saying it says, so I looked it up because I know he's been sober, right, for a while, and I was thinking, that's weird. And so I looked it up, and it's non-alcoholic beer for alcoholics by alcoholics.
Oh yeah, people that drink it for the taste.
That's what it says on the for alcoholics, and that now nothing to do with him. I don't think it's he's
That's
just
absurd.
he's just in the commercial. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
Dak?
yeah,
He's
yeah.
just in the commercial. Not it has nothing to do with him. And but when the beer he's promoting, it's Spring something. Spring.
it's funny you said that about the alcohol, non-alcohol, alcohol, or whatever the hell it was the other day. But I did see a commercial, and they're like, for people that can't drink, and they're pouring shots at a bar of like alcohol-free gin, and they're shooting the shots like they're at the bar, and I'm like,
It's actually a big thing now is mocktails, you know, and they're coming up with all kinds of stuff that like, you know, champagnes and wines and stuff that are non-alcoholic.
Well,
It's called Welch's.
Man, I'm not gonna knock
Red
any
Bull
of,
and orange juice.
any,
You know, that's
any of
all
that
it is.
stuff. I'm not gonna knock it, but I'm not gonna do it either.
But I'm not.
it ain't gonna
do
be long
though.
before I'm wanting the real goddamn
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding. I'm like 5.0 beers back when starting to feel a little crazy. You know what I mean? And yeah, that just wouldn't get the job.
I have a friend in Mississippi that was a bartender. He went to AA. He's been sober almost 20 years. He's still a bartender. He tends bar every day. Stands there and pours drinks. It doesn't bother him. He got his shit together. I couldn't do that for 5 minutes.
No.
He's done it for 20 years of sobriety and probably 20 years before while he was drinking.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's just what I do. I do it every day. And I'm like, okay. And good, I
Yeah.
guess. But
It
I
works for
couldn't
you.
do it.
Hey,
You know? Yeah.
yeah.
I'm even skeptical about working in a restaurant as a server where they're, you know, serving alcohol, because just seeing the bar and seeing people at the bar having a good time would be a trigger for me.
It's not even that. The smell repulses me. It just the smell.
Damian and I were in the same treatment place, and they have a detox area, and they'll put people, usually alcohol, they'll put them in there overnight to sleep it off. And I'm gonna tell you what, if you give up drinking and you start to think, hey, maybe I should go back to drinking, I would go early in the morning when they brought somebody in the night before drunk and they're in there sleeping it off, and just crack that door a little bit.
Let that smell get to you.
Son, that
Especially
brings
in
back some bad memories, man. Like it was
Yeah.
just instant. Like I don't miss that smell, you know,
Pretty rough, huh?
just
Yeah,
the sour
that makes me
alcohol,
vomit.
you know.
Oh, man. Speaking of things that stink,
Oh Lord, where's this gonna go?
well, we have ran out of
Hell yeah.
time. We have ran out of time, and that stinks. You know,
Oh yeah,
but we
that
got
could
to
have
wrap
went
it up.
anywhere.
going
That-
out.
yeah, that-
No,
I was like closing my eyes, like no.
it stinks that we ran out of time.
Hey, I
Yeah.
want to say it was a blessing for me to be here, man. I really appreciate y'all having me. It's
Man, we're
really
blessed
cool.
to have you, dude.
Man,
Absolutely.
Come
Yeah,
by.
yeah,
And
we-
you're gonna have to come by again.
Absolutely,
Come by
I'm
again,
more
give
than
us
down.
an update on what's going on in your life, and
Yeah.
I want to remind everyone that there's a website. It's grouchandbrainstorm.com. You can go to it, and that's how you can communicate with me, Matt, and Jill, and anybody that comes on the show. Just give it a visit, check it out. I'm gonna probably go back to some of our other episodes and add like a filler in the front to let people know that we have a website they can now go to and communicate with us. And, of course, as we get those emails, we'll answer them and maybe read some on the air. If you don't want us to read it on the air, let us know that stuff. There's news updates on there. There's pictures of the crew here, pictures of the snake that Matt got a hold of.
Major anaconda.
Pictures of Chunk and Bud. That's Bill's that's Bill's pig. that's
thanks.
Jill's pig.
Zuh.
And I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance if this episode sounds a little fuzzy. We had air conditioning running in the background. We just had to have that this time. I'm going to try to take it out. You may not hear it at all. Probably won't hear it as much as I hear it right now, but we're going to have most of that taken out. So, thanks for coming by, guys. I appreciate it. Am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, happy July the 4th.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
From the very hot and sunny Bossier City, Louisiana, this has been The Grouch and the Brainstorm.